Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. It is actually not Monday night. Today, this week, it is Tuesday night. Hopefully, next week we'll be back on clock on Monday nights. It all depends upon where our friend Abhijit Iyer-Mitra is in the world. Today, we caught up with him in Guys in Italy. And let's welcome, drum roll please, our guest of the evening, Carmelo Buccianero. Wait,
Sì, Buco Nero, Buco Nero. Sì,
Buco
ciao
Nero.
ragazzi. Ciao a tutti, ciao ragazzi.
I am looking for my friend Abhijit Iyer-Mitra. Are you one of those 7 twins of his?
No, I am Italian.
Oh,
My name Carmelo.
By the way, I heard that US pizza is better than Italian pizza. What do you say to that, Carmelo?
It's a vaffanculo. It's that bullshit. There is no good American pizza. America not make the pizza. America make the shit. Only in Italy you are getting the real pizza, not the bloody Indian pizza with the chicken tikka on it, not the bloody American pizza with a banana, a pineapple, a chicken on it.
Okay, now can I talk to my good friend Abhijit Iyer-Mitra?
Okay, ciao.
All right. Okay, very serious topic, Abhijit. Qatar is considered to be a very small cog in the entire universe of Middle East. Forget about the rest of the world. And yet, India found it prudent to stoop. Sashtanga Namaskar. So tell me why India did this, and why can't India say freedom of speech is very, very active in India and everybody has their views, and that's what it is.
Look, so basically India has done today what India has done repeatedly in the last 70 years, right? The issue is that every time in the past that the Middle East has asked us to, kneel, we just bend over completely. That's a different matter. What is new this time is that the government had been on this great campaign, including in the last few weeks. The Indian Talleyrand, the Indian Metternich, whatever you want to call him, Jai Shankar, was going around giving all these news speeches about a new India, self-confident, able to make its own decisions, blah, blah, bullshit. And it comes to when they tell you, you just bend down and crawl. So all this talk of Vishwaguru, Atmanirbhar Bharat, New India, blah, 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 has all turned out to be propaganda crap. Because you're no different, no less scared, no less dependent on the rest of the world today as you were 8 years back. Okay, this is number one. Number two, if you notice today, just a few minutes back, Al-Qaeda in India has issued a threat, and 3-4 other terrorist organizations have issued a threat. Now, this is something, Nupur did not commit blasphemy. She quoted from the book. Okay, but this was something that was allowed to fester for their own electoral needs, for their own electoral gains. They allowed it to fester. And then, when it suddenly blows up in the Middle East, notice they didn't even take action against Zubair. Zubair is the one that first laid the accusation of blasphemy, knowing full well what happens to people who are accused of blasphemy. If he claims he did not know what it would lead to, then the bugger is a pathological liar. Of course, he's always been a liar, the spawn of Ishrat Jahan that he is. But there is a case to be made here of deliberation in his malice. The other case to be made here is the compound incompetence of our Prime Minister. If you remember on this very program, did we or did we not predict at the very beginning of the farm agitation that it was going to turn into riots, into violent riots? Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
You can go back, check those episodes. At the very beginning of the CA-NRC, we predicted that it was going to turn extremely violent. Did we or did we not?
Yes.
Yes, we did. So this is something that this government, if you look at its pattern, this is how Godhra was allowed to fester. You don't take action early on, and that results in calamity later on. kal kare so aaj kare so ab pal mein parle hoegi bahuri karega kab. But that is assuming you have an intent to calm things down. Here, the intent was always to allow it to escalate. Why? Because see, a disappointed Hindu, an average disappointed Hindu today, has no choice other, even though you now detest the way the BJP has thrown aside Nupur. In the next election, if the polarization continues, the more the polarization, the more disappointed you are with the BJP, the more you will vote for the BJP. Okay, so they have thought this out very carefully. It's a win-win situation for them. इंडिया का नाम खराब हो, नो प्रॉब्लम, पर बीजेपी का इलेक्टोरल प्रॉस्पेक्ट्स खराब नहीं होना चाहिए. This is the kind of cynical way in which they have constantly exploited Hindus and Hinduism, and there's nothing we can do about it, fundamentally. Okay, do you remember every time I used to criticize Jai Shankar, all the comments used to be full saying, oh, we don't expect this kind, you have personal bias. Right? What personal bias? The jackasses you call diplomats posted in Qatar and Saudi Arabia and all of that, they couldn't open their mouths and say, listen, there's a freedom of speech issue here, number one. Number two, what she has said was quoting directly. She never used any abusive words. What she said was quoted directly from Sahih Bukhari. They are so illiterate, they couldn't even quote. This is an institutional problem. Either Jai Shankar has not fixed it, because he's always been the boy's boy, or he wanted to fix it. He's a great reformer and Modi didn't let him fix it. Now, you look at the way France is a nuclear power and a permanent member of the Security Council. Even little Denmark, the way they protected their Jyllandsposten and things like that, alleged Vishwa Guru is not able to do. This is what you get.
Well, the 56-inch chest seems to have shrunk to 56 centimeters. And
that I've been saying since day one. There is no 56-inch chest. It was always 0.0056 micromillimeter chest. You see, when you take a balloon is tiny. You fill it up with hot air, it becomes 0.56 micromillimeter balloon becomes a 56-inch balloon. And that is what we have, the sum total of hot air.
Okay, so in a series of tweet threads, you had mentioned that it was time for Narendra Modi to go, and you had mentioned two other choices. My question to you is, you've also said in our programs before that this is a bureaucracy-run government with outside support from the BJP. What makes you think that not Narendra Modi but somebody else is going to make a difference?
I don't, because I keep repeatedly telling our audience, don't trust individuals, trust institutions. Okay, but the point is, when the individual, assume you've made a mistake with the individual, and if the individual reaches his or her use by date, then you have to throw it out. You can only keep dahi out for so long. When the fungus and the mold start eating the dahi and it turns rotten and rancid and stinks up the kitchen, you have to throw it out and set new dahi. Okay. So that is the problem with the individual. Now, I do not know if Amit Shah or Yogi are going to be any better. I suspect Amit Shah will actually be better. Okay, I suspect he will. But again, the thing is, he always wanted to go in on the first day of the CA&RC from what we hear. We can't be sure, but that is what we hear. Apparently, even in the farm riots, he wanted to go in on the first day. He wasn't allowed to do it. It may be false, because, we heard a lot of things about Narendra Modi also. Oh, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. And the moment he transitioned from CM to PM, he turned out to be left of Sitaram Yechuri. Right? So, I don't know. But the great thing about individuals is you can always replace them when they don't serve the utility anymore.
Thank you, Abhijit. And viewers, a shout out to please like this video. We would like more people to watch it. We really are going to look at this thing in a very critical manner. And we are hoping that your questions are going to be around this topic. The reason we are saying that is because India is at a crossroads now. You say that you are now, a Vishwa Guru. You are saying that, we are going to have muscular diplomacy, and they showed it once or twice, and then now everything is back and inside the bottle, and the genie has been completely firmly put, and then it's been locked and sealed. Who did this? We would like to know. I mean, of course, our Prime Minister is a one-way communicator. He doesn't like any questions. He has not faced a single press conference. And unfortunately, you and I do not like that. But the Aam Janta doesn't seem to mind, Abhijit. So let's go to questions now. Thank you for supporting our channel. Please do like this program, and let's go to questions now. Mandar Karnik wants to know, is Modi government too top decision making heavy, which leads to bad communication as seen in the Nupur Sharma fiasco? No communication of basis and publishing her address in a leaked letter.
Well, look, this is the standard modus operandi, no? If you find me one management school that tells you micromanagement is a good idea, they won't. Remember when Nupur Sharma gave an interview, Nupur Sharma BJP gave an interview to Nupur Sharma Op India, she said everybody had called up and supported her. So basically they wanted to reap the electoral benefit of anything that she said. Now that it has turned inconvenient, they want to disassociate themselves from her. Okay. This has always been a problem with the Modi government, that all decision making is centralized in the PMO. There are no first principles, there are no rules, there are no guidelines, whatever. The only effort that's put in is to protect the man at the top. Everybody else is disposable. Now, the publishing her address, at least the guy who wrote that letter, the communications office that leaked it to the press, could have at least known to black it out and then give it to the press. No. They obviously leaked it either in a panic or with deliberate malice, that all the negativity, Nupur Sharma should bear all the blame, and it will deflect away from her. And there's nothing you can do about it. This is a nasty, rotten party with very nasty, very rotten people who treat everything and everybody as disposable. Everybody got very upset 2-3 years back when I said the BJP had was essentially a condom-making factory that turned every voter of it into a condom, into a disposable condom. And everybody got very upset with it. But you tell me, have I been wrong about it?
Very true. And Abhijit, one question.
And I think it's very important to remember, Nupur did not commit any blasphemy. She simply quoted verbatim from a hadith. Verbatim. And one piece of trash, jihadi piece of trash, decided that it was blasphemy, gave it the spin of blasphemy. That piece of shit is on record doing this on several occasions. And there are other trash, garbage groupies of his at the Quint, at the Print, and places like that, who constantly keep forwarding his interpretations. D-grade, F-grade actors, casting couch graduates, who keep forwarding his interpretation. They all knew. They all knew.
All right. Question for you. What does India gain by doing this?
India gains nothing. Remember, the BJP doesn't give a shit about India. Let's get that clear. Or they do, but in their mind, BJP equals India. So what's good for BJP is good for India. It's a very screwed up way of thinking. It's the basis of every abusive relationship. I am eating 90% of what is cooked. It is good for me, therefore it is good for my wife. I beat up my wife, therefore she listens to me, and therefore it is good for me, and therefore it is also good for her. This is what an abusive relationship is all about. That is what leads to a monopoly. When the Hindus are not monopoly, monopsony situation. There is only one seller of Hindutva, and that is the BJP. Okay, because the Shiv Sena has now turned into a secularist party. When you are caught in a monopsony, this is what happens.
Varun Sangani wants to know, sir, what will happen if NOTA comes as majority in an election?
Nothing will happen, boss. Trust me, everybody, including me, despite my anger, in the next election, because it's going to be so polarized, we're only going to go vote for the BJP. Gadha hai, par mera gadha hai.
You are quoting
No,
Henry
you tell
Kissinger.
me. Yeah, but see, here the problem is, well, he used a different word. I think more appropriate word given our current leadership, but I'll settle for donkey. But what alternative do you have? See, here they use you and dump you. There they come after you. So unless you have a alternative pro-Hindu party, you have zero options. Exactly zero.
All right. Next question, please. Lone Wolf TV wants to know, what is the process for creating an alternative to BJP, considering the Hindus getting screwed over and over again?
Well, what you can do is screw them over by defeating them in state elections. Okay, you know you will get screwed, but in the next election, choose which 5-6 people you want to defeat within the BJP. And decide to go campaign and vote against the individual, no matter which seat he or she contests from. So it creates, even within the party, then it creates some kind of an accountability. Now, remember, the BJP took how long to come to power? Through the Jan Sangh, merged with the Janata Party, then became the Bharatiya Janata Party. It took what, almost 50 years for them to come to power finally in 77, no?
Yes.
When was the Jan Sangh formed?
1960s or 1950s, something like that.
Oh, then fine. It took them about 10-15 years to come to power. Fine.
Yeah.
So even assume 10-15 years.
Their first success was in 1960s. Their first success was in 1967 state elections.
No. When did they come into government? In 77.
Yeah, government in center 77. Yes.
77, but as a ruling party only with Vajpayee in 1997 or 1998.
1996, they came for 13 days, and then 1998 1 year.
Yeah, I won't count the 13 days. Yeah. So 1998, realistically speaking, right? That is the time it takes to come to power decisively in India. Okay. This is not like France or Russia where overnight you create a party and you can win the next election. No.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you create that party, sure. You have to go to the RSS and keep telling them that you want different alternatives and options now that the BJP is simply not good enough. You have to try to wean the RSS away. Or you take over an existing party and shift it to the right. Take over the Shiv Sena and shift it to the right. Take over Congress and shift it to the right. Of course, those parties will not because they're family-controlled entities. Go persuade Mamata Banerjee to switch to the right. Go persuade AAP to switch to the right. And incentivize it. The problem is that every time Rahul Gandhi goes to a Hindu temple, you call him dhongi, 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 dhongi. You should say, bahut acha bachcha. Ab aur karo, hum tere liye vote karenge. When Arvind Kejriwal comes and sings bhajans on TV before Diwali, you shouldn't be saying tu dhongi hai. You should be saying aur karo, aake sab mandiron mein jao, Hindutva bolo, tab hum tere liye vote karenge. But no. He's an opportunist. But see, an opportunist is the best alternative for you, na? If he can go with the Khalistanis, rabid Khalistanis, why can't he come with rabid Hindutvawadis? You just have to incentivize him enough. Now, assume you're not comfortable. And mind you, this isn't a pleasant conversation to have. Because you seem to think that the true Hindutva leader is some, with a halo of Tejas around his head, full of good intentions and some goody two shoes. They're all bastards. You have to make a selection between bastards. Okay. So the more you detest a person, try to bring them to your path, incentivize them. Number one. This is number two, other than creating a new Hindutva party. Number 3, and the most important, the most doable in the short term, is to select people in the BJP who you have decided to punish and ensure go campaign, fund the campaign against them, and see to it they lose their Lok Sabha seats, specifically Narendra Modi.
All right, and if you have been a regular watcher of TV, in 2014, after the BJP got elected, there was an interview. I don't remember to which channel Dr. Swamy gave. He said that he foresees a party even more Hindutva oriented to be the real opposition. And that was 8 years ago. See how true his words are coming out. Next question, please. Ishan Agarwal says, does India use spies in Indian states to maintain internal security? If so, why aren't we able to prevent riots or ban organizations like the PFI?
Spies nahi, spies externally hote, internally they're called informants. We do. I mean, we do have an extensive network. The problem is there's a huge issue with coordination. There's a huge issue with conveying the message. They don't even know how to write dispatches and cables and things like that. Very frequently, what happens is most of these informants are playing a double game. And we don't have the ability to clearly identify, or sometimes, so for example, PFI has been used in the past to push the agenda of the Indian state on several occasions. Okay, if you're an intelligence chief, you'll be thinking, what is more important, the PFI or me funding the PFI or keeping tabs on it and allowing it to blossom has meant I now know every single violent Islamist in India who gravitates towards the PFI. But what do I do when it erupts into riots? Is one riot enough for me to lose 20 years worth of investment in this organization creating? See, it becomes a sort of, the process in itself becomes the end. Okay, it's the same with the Tablighi Jamaat. They are a known intelligence asset. And the problem with banning them becomes, भाई ये लोग इनका international network मेरे को इतना सारा intelligence देता है, just because they have some unfashionable ideas about congregation and COVID, does it mean I collapse my entire intelligence gathering network? Mind you, these organizations also know how dependent the government is, and it will be a constant. Intelligence is not clean, boss. Intelligence is a very dirty subject. You need to get away from these black and white binaries. So sometimes I understand where they're coming from.
50 Shades of Grey.
It's literally 50 Shades of Grey. Alas.
Next question, please. Kanda Batata. Why didn't India summon Iran's ambassador after Israeli embassy bomb blast, assuming they were behind it? They can summon Indian ambassador, but we can't. And also, what happened to the investigation?
Nothing happened. The investigation was traced back to Tehran and then it went cold. Bhai, hamari auqat hai kya? The only people we ever summon for a formal protest are the Pakistanis. We can't even summon the Bangladeshis or the Sri Lankans for a formal protest. When was the last time? Now, the Qataris summoned us over a formal protest. Did you see all the kinds of shit that Qatar's biggest paper, its chief editor, was saying about Hindus and Hindu gods? Did the MEA summon the Qatari ambassador for a protest about that? No, no. So basically understand, it's, MEA essentially behind the suits, behind the boots, behind the faux polished accent is really no different from what you see on the street side. Ay, baba, paisa de dena, ay. That's what the MEA is. Just because they wear a suit doesn't mean they're any different.
Stinging endorsement or lack of it. Next question, please. Rohan Basu wants to know, why didn't we consider Ajit Doval as Home Minister? I thought the debate is still out there. Who is really the Home Minister?
Well, I honestly don't know, because this would have been an internal discussion. But I remember in 2013 end, when it was kind of clear that Modi was going to win. I mean, nobody expected him to win an absolute majority, but that Doval was always going to be NSA. that they needed both his bureaucratic talents and his ability to coordinate intelligence. Remember, the Home Ministry is more than just intelligence. It's also a certain political finesse and a knack of understanding political currents. Ajit Doval is fantastic with intelligence. I think anybody who's ever met him, when I've heard him, unlike, say, Jaishankar, who makes extraordinarily generic, pointless, hyperbolistic statements, Ajit Doval is extremely precise and nuanced in what he says. And he's very frequently, he surprises you and says new things. His ability to understand a certain nuance in intelligence, I've always found impressive. Even when I disagree with what he does, I will never question his professionalism.
Okay. Here's a clue to
just one second.
Go ahead. I thought you're done.
But
sorry.
If he is good at intelligence, doesn't mean he's good at politics. You need a politician who's good at intel. And from all accounts that I've heard, including some of the things I'd seen during 370 firsthand, the abrogation of 370 firsthand, Amit Shah is really up to the job. The question is, why isn't he being allowed to do his job? That's always the big question. And Ajit Doval has always been very good as NSA. Look, have there been mistakes? Yeah, sure. Everybody, even Modi, sometimes, I think I tend to blame him a bit too much. For me, the barometer of a mistake is, was it foreseeable? Very frequently, in terms of internal security, it has been foreseeable, like we have predicted on this program itself. If you can see it with the benefit of hindsight, that is not a mistake. Those are genuine mistakes that need to be forgiven. Has Doval made mistakes? Yes, several. But generally, he's pretty good at intelligence. I'm not too sure he's good at politics. So that may have been the skill set that excluded him.
Question for you, Abhijit, before we go to the next question. Where does the Prime Minister sit? South Block, right?
It's adjoined to South Block. It's not in South Block. It's a little
South Block. And where does the office of the Home Minister lie?
North Block.
North Block. Okay. So viewers, I'm told that Ajit Doval's office is just 2 doors away from the Prime Minister's office. Just 2 doors away. So in other words, he can just walk out. Ajit or someone, Ajit and Ajit can be there in less than a minute. And that is the kind of importance that this Prime Minister gives to the security of the country. I think we have to understand there is a lot happening. There are 100 attempts to try and create terror. 99 might have been caught, but it's only the one that we all remember. And the 99 that were caught and diffused, nobody will say anything about it, because that is what the job of the security advisor is, to catch all these things before they go. Because once you see, many people may be still thinking that some of their intelligence assets are still active. By saying that, oh, we caught this guy, then we are giving away the story. So that's the reason. So thank you very much for that clarification, Abhijit. Again, viewers, we are looking at this in a very intellectual way. We are not taking sides. We are not happy with somebody, we say that. But when there is credit, we do give them the credit. The next question, please. Ashish Sharma wants to know, the BJP abandoned Nupur and also allowed the eighth exodus of Kashmiri Hindus right under their nose. How do you think Modi can even sleep when he had promised to undo these things?
He sleeps really well, man. Bhai, I'm sorry to use this language, but चूतियों को चूतिया बनाना उसका पेशा है. जो चूतिया बनाता है वो उस पे ब्लेम डालोगे या जो चूतिया बना है उस पे ब्लेम डालोगे. एक बार चूतिया बनाया तो शेम ऑन हिम. 2 बार चूतिया मेरे को बनाया तो शेम ऑन मी. You make a fool of me once, shame on you. You make a fool of me twice, shame on me. You make a fool of me 7-8 times, double, triple, quadruple, pentuple, septuple, octuple, shame on me.
One thing that people need to understand as a psyche, as Sanatanis, right? We tend to think that one person can make the whole difference and that one person is alone to take care of all the problems. It never happens that way.
See,
even Krishna needed.
It's this Kalki avatar complex that we have.
Yes.
Glanir bhavati bharata abhyuktanam dharmasya tajatmanam sridamyaham paritranaaya sadhunama vinashachaya dushkritam dharma sansthapanataya sambhavami
Sambhavami
yuge yuge.
yuge
You
yuge.
are all caught in this sambhavami yuge yuge complex where one man comes and changes everything. One man does not. Please remember, when Krishna died, Dwaraka went underwater and Kali Yuga set in. Okay, what happened to Ayodhya after Rama died? It collapsed after a while. Why do you think that one man can make a change? There are so many. See, you also take a single point view of the Ramayana and Mahabharata. There are so many nuances and things to it. Remember, Krishna died a very horrible death.
Yes.
You know how Krishna died? No, it was like Achilles. The arrow pierced his
Achilles
ankle.
tendon, yeah. Achilles heel.
His Achilles tendon, and he died. And he had the option to leave his body, but he said, no, I've been born as a human being. I will die in that pain as a human being. There are lots of stories to be learned. You take away all, you only want to hear, this is the problem with Hindus, that we're a good news society. We only want to hear what massages our ego, what makes us feel good. And God, I'm like that. I don't claim to be anything different. Oh, Abhijit, you're so intelligent. The sun shines out of your ass. Your words are the next Veda. Your words are the next Gita. I'm like, oh, Abhijit, you're a bloody idiot. Abhijit, you talk shit all the time. Hey, ja, tongue, block. I'm also like that. I don't claim to be any different. The thing is, at least I know those limitations. Do you? What is this need for good news all the time that you want? See, it is why ultimately do we value, do you know what the significance of the lotus is? It's named Pankaja. What is punk? You're a punk, man. Punk, dirt, filth. Pankaja, that which is born of the dirt. Opacity, dirt, confusion. And out of that is born clarity and realization and enlightenment. It is through the opposition of ideas, through harsh criticism, that the truth emerges. It is through contradiction that the truth emerges. The lotus cannot grow in clear water. The lotus can only grow in dirty water. And that is the beauty of the lotus, that not a single bit of the dirt can ever stick to the lotus. But you don't want to hear it. You only want to hear, अरे तू homo है, तू छक्का है, तू हिजड़ा है. बोलो, बोलते रहो. मेरा कोई problem नहीं है. बोलते रहो. I block you. That's a different matter.
One small aside before we go to the next question. Viewers, what Abhijit said about Rama's kingdom, breaking up, but there were smaller parts, and one of them survived for a long time, and which was Kausalya or Kushal dynasty. And the prince or the king at the time Mahabharata war started, he fought on behalf of the Kauravas. So our epics are very, very interesting. You have to do, once you start digging in deeper, you will find so many interesting stories. Next question, please. AnalogKid, is 7 lakh Indians in Qatar the reason for weak stance?
Look, understand what happens when you decide to expel 7 lakh Indians. How long do you think the Qatari economy will last? You think those people can be replaced so rapidly? All the Foreign Service had to do was to tell the Qataris, listen, there has been a significant misinterpretation. She has quoted from the book. We'd like you to point out in the interview what part of this you believed was blasphemy.
Yes.
पर हमारे इधर देखिए डिप्लोमेट नहीं है, छक्के हैं, छक्का छक्केश है, छक्का दी राजा है. There's nothing you can do about it. अनपढ़ गवार है. एक एग्जाम पास कर लिया, समझते हैं कि पूरा दुनिया उनके पिछवाड़े में है. मुट्ठी में तो छोड़ो, इनकी औकात ही नहीं है. ये तो बंदरों की तरह आते थे. Don't even have opposable thumbs.
Hey, Abhijit, I'm also hearing that many of these people have walked back or deleted their tweets about blasphemy now.
Who?
Some of the Middle East people, diplomats and so on and so forth.
I don't know. I haven't seen.
Yeah, that's what I saw on social media. I thought I wanted to know. Also on Lotus, I have a question for our viewers. You should not go to Google. Okay, if you answer now, we will recognize your name and we'll put it on. Okay, so there are two goddesses astride on lotuses, and there are two types of lotuses: red lotus and white lotus. Tell me which goddess sits on white lotus. Next
Come
question,
along, man.
please.
Everybody knows.
Yeah, don't say anything. Don't say nothing. Let's see.
I'm not saying anything, but everybody
Yeah.
knows.
David the Goliath. If millions of people commit blasphemy against Mo, then Muslims can't do anything. You can't go killing around millions. Let's do a Mo cartoon day. That is the correct answer. Saraswati is the correct answer. Let's move on. Thank you, guys.
You could. Of course you could. The issue is, I fundamentally believe that the test of a democracy and free speech is blasphemy. The very idea of free speech was invented to protect against blasphemy, because all political opposition used to be considered blasphemy in one form or the other. And so that is why free speech comes about. Now, you can go around doing it, but will you have constitutional protections? Because in India, what is criminalized is a number of people taking offense to something. Whether you intended the offense or not is irrelevant. It is if somebody interprets it as hurt sentiment, you can go to jail. Okay. So understand, the problem isn't just the Muslims. And which Muslims? Some people here and there. एक riot हुआ था कानपुर में. Did every Indian Muslim come out on the street? No, na? Understand, boss, they are also a captive community. If you think you are the captives, you have no bloody idea what an average Muslim goes through every day. Who wants to break out? There's a whole bunch of ex-Muslims, Muslim atheists and things that you need to be following on Twitter. You'll see how they actually think in private. These people at least have the guts to come out. But the problem isn't them. The problem is your own government that's unwilling to defend you. In Denmark and France, you can do it without fear. Well, you'll get killed by terrorists. That's a different matter. That's what they did to Charlie Hebdo. But Jyllands Posten got away with it in Denmark. So do it, but your government won't protect you. The point here is that an Indian right to free speech is subject not just to an Indian veto, but a foreign veto as well. That is the very opposite of Atmanirbhar Bharat. That is the very opposite of a confident India, where the right of a citizen can be trampled by a foreigner feeling upset. That is why we have something called the Bharatiya Chakka Party in power today.
All right, viewers, many of you have given the right answer. It is Goddess Saraswati. And the first 10 to answer the question, we will put your names on the ticker or the name that you go by in the comment section. Let's go to the next question. Thanks, by the way. I'm impressed. I had to spend some time to look it up because I know Lotus, but I didn't register to me whether it was Lakshmi or Saraswati. Okay, Kedarnath Iyer wants to know, is this the end of NDA or are we staring at another united front led by... Go ahead.
No, understand, the greater the polarization, like I said, monopoly, monopsony, this thing, you are stuck with the BJP. If anything, the NDA is going to win an even bigger majority. I actually do fundamentally believe in the next election, the BJP will cross 330. It will easily cross 330. Because remember, in Tamil Nadu, the pendulum will swing. Okay, Maharashtra, the pendulum will swing. Bengal, the pendulum will swing the other way because the local BJP has been wiped out. ठीक है, तो उधर जो 19 seats मिले थे वो गए. पर तमिलनाडु में 10 मिलेंगे, महाराष्ट्र में तुमको almost you will score a wipeout. You'll get 40. Or at least you'll get 30. So the 19 that gets lost there, you lose here, you gain out there. You'll reach 330 in the next elections, boss. So, no. And therein lies the problem. You understand, we are in a classic, toxic, bad behavior reinforcing cycle. And that is the problem.
All right. All those of you, the first 10 to answer correctly, your names are being displayed now. Congratulations. And let's go to the next question now. There you go. Thank you, guys. It really made my day. I was afraid that we'll have to really reveal the answer, but the fact that so many of you jumped into the right answer, I'm touched. Next
What do you
question.
mean you have to reveal the answer, man? We recite the Saraswati Vandana in school every day. Ya Kundendu Tusharahara Dhavala, Ya Shubhravastamrita. Everybody knows.
I'm glad that that is that's how it turned out to be. Next question, please.
No question. Areba.
No. Alright. He's scrambling here. Malyaban Bhattacharya wants to know: BJP has also mismanaged the economy. Why people are not taking the party to task regarding the economy, as India needed about 7 to 10% economic growth activity.
Because see, the issue is nobody wants to push the reforms. On what basis will the Congress question? See, it's very easy to criticize, but who's going to give the suggestions? What did you need to push the economy? You needed to clarify the land laws, which they tried in the very first term in 2014 and it fell through. They wanted to clarify the labor laws, that also fell through. You wanted to clarify the bankruptcy laws, it went through, and we haven't heard of anything since then of what's come out of it. So remember, you can criticize, there is criticism. The problem is that when the Congress and other parties criticize, they say, oh, we did this, and you aren't doing this. Boss, your record was just as bad. What you need is forward-looking criticism. What you need is credible criticism, which unfortunately there isn't anymore. Okay. You tell me, where is the informed criticism coming from? When somebody like, who was it? Swaminathan Anklesiriya Iyer writes that if Raghuram Rajan goes, 90% of all investments will leave the country. What a joke, man. Really? So there's a lot of problems. Should they be? Yes, they should. They should be talking about fuel prices. And the problem is, the moment they criticize on fuel prices, the BJP comes back and says, "Arey, tune dekha tere time pe kitna fuel price bada tha." I think the problem is, there is high economic criticism, high level economic criticism, but that isn't going to win you elections. You have to convert it into simple language. Aloo ka daam bada, pyaz ka daam bada, bas. Do that. They are not able to convert it into easy criticism for the ordinary man. And when they are, the problem is they end up being so anti-Hindu. They're like, bhai, dekh, मैं आलू का भी ज्यादा दाम दूंगा, प्याज का भी ज्यादा दाम दूंगा, पर तेरा जो हिंदू विरोधी एटीट्यूड है, ये नहीं चलेगा. Which is what has happened. For every piece of valid economic criticism that Chidambaram may raise, that creates 10,000 doubters in the BJP camp, Rahul Gandhi opens his stupid mouth and turns another 50,000 undecided into Kattarpati. Now, what are you going to do?
Next question, please. Abhay Agarwal wants to know: RSS top leadership itself is intellectually confused. PPSSE, I don't know what that is, says Hindus should give up their claim over temples converted to mosques. Why? What are you even going to ask them? I think it's AIMPLB. I don't know what PPSSE is.
I think Sarsang Chalak.
Okay. Okay. Sarsang
Mohan
Chalak. Okay. Oh, Parama Pujya Sarsang Chalak. Got it.
Acha. Okay. Huh. See, you have to understand the RSS is fundamentally a very decent organization. I am not going to criticize them for one very simple reason. They serve selflessly. Do they have ideas we disagree with? Yes. Do they have old-fashioned ideas? Yes. Do they sometimes have stupid ideas? Yes. But they have never asked us for favors. They have always offered help without question, without conditions, and they have protected us through our darkest phases. उनके मुंह पे थूकना सरासर पाप है, मैं नहीं करूंगा. बीजेपी के मुंह पे थूकना दूसरी बात है, आरएसएस के मुंह पे बिल्कुल नहीं थूका जाएगा. Okay, I'm very clear about this. Now, they have some outdated ideas. It's natural. Why do you want the RSS? Why? If you feel that this is the problem, I would suggest you engage with the RSS. Every time I meet with the RSS in private, I tell them, "Ye aapne jo bola, galat bola." And they'll agree to it in private. They are one of the most open people to criticism in private. In public, they don't engage. That's a different matter. But in private, I've never come across a close-minded RSS person. If there's somebody who's what you'd call colloquially a chutia in the RSS, they bump them off to the BJP. That is why the BJP is such a nasty party and the RSS is full of really nice people. They export all their trash. Like I believe, Indian NRIs are a radioactive trash. Sorry, Shri, with a notable exception out here. But Indian NRIs are the overwhelmingly the Democrat voting types are the radioactive trash that we export abroad. Like France exports its radioactive trash to Africa to be buried in the desert. The BJP is the radioactive trash of the RSS that they export outside. Okay. There's nothing you can do about it. It's the way it is. But I would urge you all to engage with your local RSS leadership. Talk to them. Convey your anger to them. And tell them that this has to stop.
Just a quick aside. Viewers, what I want to show you now is what I'm wearing today. And this is Panchakacham, worn South Indian style. And there is a video of this in the member section of PGurus. If you become a member, you have access to this. And it's very nice. And you just, I've explained what size, depending on your height, what is the size of the dhoti or veshti you need to buy. And it's very easy and it's very, very solid. You can run with this. I even demonstrate me running with my Panchakacham in that video. So if you are interested, please let us know. We are going to take it away from members and we are going to make it available to everybody. Because I think in our mind, we can't be completely Hindus unless we imbibe the habits of a Hindu. Our great-grandfathers always wore like this. In fact, they didn't even have a kurta or anything. There was just an uttariyam, which is this. And they would just wear it loosely draped over their shoulders. That was it. But it was, warm. India was almost always warm. So just a suggestion. We are going to make that thing out of members and we'll make it available to everybody. So if you like it and if you wear it and if you like it, do send us your pictures and we will share those pictures in the future hangouts with Abhijit Iyer-Mitra. Thank you. Malyaban Bhattacharya wants to know, do you think Chinese model is better suited to stop other countries from interfering into the internal affairs of India, China?
No, it really isn't. See, I'll tell you what the problem with the Chinese model is. Do you really want to go down that path? Because then you give so much power to the government. You think just because this government doesn't know how to use its power, a Congress government won't know how to abuse its power? No, boss. That's a very, very dangerous model. Because see, there, when you have somebody who's compromised to either American or Chinese money, they will screw you over in ways you don't even understand and you can't communicate with the outside world. Okay, there are ways even within the current system. So, for example, get into a deal with Twitter. We should have never gotten rid of TikTok because TikTok was the one company that would actually do whatever the government told it to do. In this case, you need to start, crushing the balls of Twitter and Facebook and places like that, throw a few of their executives in jail till they agree without question to do what the government wants. Shut down certain accounts, block certain accounts, or hold them criminally liable for it. It's that simple. But wo bhi nahi karenge. Why? Because Twitter and Facebook are constantly in the PMO crawling up their rectums. Ab kya karoge? You have a completely compromised system. Your model is compromised. It is working suboptimally. Fix that. The laws are quite good. You don't need any new laws. You just need to implement the laws you have. That's it.
Guts, the Black Swordsman. Hello, Abhijit. Do you think BJP intentionally lets such situation flare up or they are just incompetent? If yes, why do they do so, even though they are unable to deal with such issues?
See, they're either fantastically incompetent or they're incredibly criminal. I don't know what the answer is. Initially, I used to think it was incompetence, but now you've seen this happen so often. Godhra was a classic example of it. Then the CANRC, then the farm riots, now this. I think it has gone beyond incompetence into deliberate criminality. And I think there is a logic to it. Because remember, if you are pissed off today with the BJP, tomorrow in the election, tell me, किस मुंह से तुम जाके एसपी के लिए वोट करोगे या कांग्रेस के लिए वोट करोगे? You'll only end up voting for the BJP just out of the sheer threat of having the SP or the Congress come to power, no? So I've gone again. The problem is when I think they are criminal, they do something so fantastically stupid that it can only come down to incompetence. So I honestly don't know. I have my days, I run an odd even scheme in my brain. Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, I think they're criminals. On the other days, I think they're morons.
Next question, please. All right. I think looks like we may be at the end. Oh, no. No such luck. You are a very sought-after man. Sunil Jakkaraju wants to know, do you believe this backlash from Islamic countries is due to India buying cheap crude from Russia?
No. Look, we're not replacing them.
This is just a toolkit, guys. It's been shown now. Go ahead.
Yeah. This is a toolkit. I suggest you go. There's this fantastic handle. Can I send you the tweet? Can you bring it up?
Yes. Yeah.
1 second. So I will send you this tweet.
Just share it in the. There is a private. Okay. Go ahead, send. I'll take it. Just send it to me.
I'm sending it to you on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Or shall I send it to Sachin on WhatsApp?
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Yeah. He's waiting.
Okay. Sachin, I've sent this to you on WhatsApp. I want you all to follow this guy. He does Twitter threads in both Hindi and English. He keeps doing it in Hindi. I told him to do it in English. He did this specifically for me. But you go through this Twitter thread. It will show you where the genesis of all of this started. There's one more. Please bring this up. Then I'll send you the next one.
Yeah. Just 1 second. Yeah, it's coming up. I can see that. Just 1 second, guys. Just 1 second. Yeah, there you go.
Right. So if you go to this particular handle, you will see the genesis of the current storm.
Yeah.
OSINT_com. Okay, this guy does fantastic threads. Do follow him. There's another guy called Hawkeye. I've sent that also to you, Sachin. So if you could bring that tweet up also. And this is another thread. Now, Hawkeye has done 2 threads. I want you to follow this. This is a textbook information warfare operation. Entirely run by the Muslim Brotherhood in coordination with Alt News and Zubair. So this fellow is just like PFI. They know they're terrorists. They won't do anything against them because they're an intelligence operative. So this is what happens. There's nothing you can do about it, but I want you to go read. There's a lot we can do about it, but given how incompetent our dear leader is and his great love for degraders worse than him, this is what you'll end up with. Next question.
Global pandemic treaty, end of sovereignty, pandemmed. Had to take a breath. Abhijit, you do understand that civil war protocols are in place, right? Nupur is not the only one. How many unsung heroes amongst us? Investments in India after Jaishankar came back is to short economy.
Tell me something. What do you mean by civil war protocols? I really want to know, what do you mean by civil war protocols? I have never heard of these. I've literally never seen there's a war book in India. It's old. It's never been updated. I've never seen a civil war protocol. So I don't know what you're talking about. Second, many unsung heroes, but who remembers their name? Does anybody even remember Kamlesh Tiwari except as this thing? Has anyone gone and checked on Kamlesh Tiwari's family? Who was the guy who got? I forgotten the name of the guy who got killed last 2-3 months back.
Yeah.
Investments in India after Jaishankar came back is to short economy. What does that even mean? Can you at least frame a sentence properly, please?
Viewers, there is a flight of capital from India right now out of mutual funds. As a matter of fact, FIIs, foreign institutional investors and foreign portfolio investors, alleged to have taken out almost all of their investments into the mutual fund section. Right now, whatever money is there, it's completely those who are investing in this using the SIP, systematic investment plans. And that is a danger, because the FII is sort of like a barometer. If they are confident that India is going to do well, they'll leave the money in. If they are confident that India is not going to do well, guess what happens? They take out all the money. Please remember this. You need to know all these things. Go ahead, Abhijit. Next question. We're already up. Yeah. Pramod Ramatmajan. For Hindus, keeping Modi in power has become an end in itself. For what purpose? No one has a clue. Vote Modi and pay yourself. All is well.
Is correct only. It's become an end in itself.
Your answer, your question, we agree with you. Sandy, 17th October. All this while we are seeing literal genocide of Christians in Nigeria. Vare blasphemy.
अब क्या करें?
Sam Roy. Can India dump Gulf and buy all oil and gas from Russia?
Listen. First of all, you're bloating this up too much. Why are you getting upset with these guys? When did they start protesting? They only protested after the BJP dumped Nupur. Please read the statement that the Qatari government issued. The Qatari government called in the ambassador for a protest after Nupur was dumped. There is the acknowledgement that the action had been taken in that. They are testing the waters. Why are you saying that these countries are wrong when you can't defend your own position and your citizens' rights? I would suggest you dump the BJP before you dump the Gulf countries. Na? Galti kiski hai? Who let you down? Why? You couldn't have your F-grade ambassadors out there, single exam pass, good for nothings, actually explain. Did they even see what Nupur Sharma said? Utni bhi inki dimag hai. I want you to Google the 15 ambassadors in these 15 countries, and then I want you to go to YouTube and see if there are any speeches of these guys or anything. If they come off as even remotely articulate or intelligent, the Indian ambassadors to these countries. ये कहाँ करेंगे बॉस? कहाँ?
Sid Dave wants to know, can't we do a peaceful population exchange with Pakistan, Bangladesh? Indian Momins go to those countries and Hindus from Pakistan, Bangladesh come here.
Population exchanges have never been. I have never seen a peaceful population exchange happen. And understand, it's a very bad idea. You're again, Sid, you're basing your thing on the fact that a few rotten Muslims protesting and the rest being held hostage means that they're all rotten. Does it simplify certain things? Yeah, like the Greek-Turkish population exchange where both countries kind of became homogenous. Sure. But your problems are different. Your problems are that you have an F-grade government that keeps incentivizing every goddamn fundamentalist under the sun to go on a rampage. When that problem goes, there'll be a new problem. What is at the root out here? Why today is a fundamentalist Muslim able to go on the street and do something, riot or whatever? Why? Because your government never cracks down. It has never cracked down for the last 40, 50, 60, 70 years. Understand where the problem lies. Again, you're doing the same thing. Misdiagnosing the problem. It's a partially correct diagnosis, I agree. But that is because of the nature of the Sunni community in India. Again, ask the right question. Look within yourself first. See what you can change within yourself. Then.
Next question from Hardik Thanki. Do you want to go for 1.5 hours?
And sorry. Yeah, sure. Just one other thing in our reply to the previous question. I want you to think this through very carefully. You see Muslims today as a problematic minority and you want a population exchange. Assume tomorrow, for some reason or the other, tomorrow Parsis become a problematic minority, or Iyers become a problematic minority, or Iyengars become a problematic minority. Iyengars are very problematic. That's a different matter. We should clarify. But Dvaita is highly problematic. Or if Bengalis become a problematic minority, how many people will you keep kicking out? There's a reason you can't do that anymore, boss. The downstream consequences are toxic. हमने बस 3 मंदिर मांगा था, अयोध्या, काशी, मथुरा. Now some jackasses want all the 40,000 temples back, which is no. It's very problematic when you go down that path. जिसका sanctity नहीं है. कम से कम अगर sanctity होता, if we remembered that there was this great temple under Taj Mahal which everybody missed, and Gyanvapi always had a little part in the wall where people used to go worship out there, and the women used to do aarti to it outside that particular spot of the mosque. There was always that memory ki wo sthan hamare liye sacred hai. Mathura maybe there was always that memory ki wo sthan hamare liye sacred hai. It didn't just start off overnight. I've done this thing on current sanctity regarding temples. The same thing happens out here. You start kicking out one problematic minority, you will start blaming the entire minority for your... What has happened to Pakistan ultimately? Her cheese is foreign, this thing, you see ghosts and this thing, everything except take responsibility for your own actions. And you even accept that fundamentalist Muslims in this country behave the way they do because they're incentivized by the state and its choices to go out onto the streets and riot. At the same time, also remember, Hindus also had street power. The one thing that Modi did in Gujarat was to destroy Hindu street power. Nobody wants to talk about that. अरे VHP क्या सब तमाशा करता था, याद है तुम लोगों को? विष्णु हरी डालमी एंड ऑल दोस पीपल गुजरात में क्या सब हिंदू धर्म रक्षा के लिए करते थे रास्ते पे? He destroyed them. He destroyed Hindu street power. Nobody wants to talk about what he did in Gujarat, but all of the Gujarati Hindu street power was destroyed by Narendra Modi. Their ability as a society to react was destroyed by Narendra Modi. Because he thought he had comprehensively destroyed Muslim street power. We know that is not the case.
Couple of things. One is, if you want to know more details about Gyanvapi Mosque, there are lots of videos with Dr. Subramaniam Swamy on PGurus channel. And the Mathura issue is discussed in detail with Dr. Meenakshi Jain. That aired about a couple of weeks ago. And please do go and look it up, because we have to understand what is the crux of the problem. Each temple is slightly different. So I encourage all of you to go watch those 2 videos. Next question, please. Hardik Thanki wants to know, why have Qatar and Kuwait turned hostile towards India? Kuwait had issued a statement against India regarding Kashmir, and Qatar Emir cancelled his Republic Day invitation around 2016.
No. They have not turned hostile against India. They are still neutral to India. They haven't come fully on board with MBS and things. That's simply not true. It depends on a balance of power, how much power you project. If you have obsequious ambassadors and an obsequious mind, I keep telling you this. Shri, you correct me if I'm wrong, but on this very program for the last 3-4 years, I have gone on saying that the reset with Saudi Arabia and the UAE was not initiated by us, it was initiated on their side. We have always remained the same obsequious little coolies and toilet cleaners and chaprasis that we have always been throughout our history.
I thought MJ Akbar did some good work as Minister of State external affairs.
Well, he didn't change anything on the ground. You may think that, but he changed nothing on the ground. That fundamental obsequiousness remained. Like I said, don't idolize an individual. Did he make any institutional changes? Zero. Okay, zero institutional changes. He couldn't. He didn't. He might have had very good ideas, but he couldn't. So nothing has changed. Your policy towards them has always remained the same, which is, जी साहब, yes साहब, आप मेरे मुंह पे थूकेंगे, ये मेरा सौभाग्य है साहब. The Emiratis and Saudis have changed their attitude towards you. Saudi and Qatar are weakened somewhat, not entirely.
And AJ wants to know, could you conjure up reasons why US will join Sino-Wahhabi alliance on unifying 56 countries to put BJP on back foot? Why do we keep using FB/Twitter?
What's the first? I mean, what are we doing? Are we playing fantasy? No, I'm not answering that first part. Why do we keep using FB Twitter? Because they're very addictive. Do you even realize that the algorithms on it are meant to be as addictive as cocaine or heroin? Both. Not just both. Instagram, YouTube, they're all meant to be extremely addictive.
Also, viewers, Twitter is still not making money. And I'll tell you why it is not still making money. They should be having like 25, 30 relay servers now, all of whom are making sure that your Twitter experience is as fast in India, in any other city you are in. And this takes a lot of back-end power and juice. Facebook also did that, but Facebook is profitable thanks to its ads. I don't think Twitter is. Next question, please. While in a war with China, will OIC stop oil import and close Suez Canal? Will US sink Russian? Let's one question at a time.
Boss, I'm not getting into these hypothetical questions. Okay, I'm just not.
Sid Dave wants to know, are Ambedkarites a threat? I always see them spewing venom and willing to ally with jihadis. Without Brahmins, there is no Buddhism. They founded all major Buddhist schools and were main disciples of Buddha.
I'm not too sure about the second part. But the first part is Ambedkarites as they stand today are a significant threat because they are not Ambedkarites. Let's be very clear about it. They are half Ambedkarites. They want to read all the parts where he criticized Hinduism. They don't want to. Do you know they actively censor all the areas where Ambedkar criticized every other religion as well? So understand, neo-Ambedkarites are frauds. They are not Ambedkarites. Let's call them out for what they are. Just because they call themselves Ambedkarites, when you accept their self-identification as Ambedkarites, you are essentially lost half the battle. They are half Ambedkarites. They are essentially jihadists masquerading around as Ambedkarites, only willing to take half of Ambedkar's message. If you want to put them on the back foot, start questioning their very identification as an Ambedkarite.
Next question, please. Yugesh Sai Reddy.
And 1 second. There's a guy called Good Vibes who said Ambedkarites are communists. Please understand, Ambedkar hated communism. Like nobody did. So for them to be communists, for them to be left-wing, is the greatest insult to Ambedkar. An Ambedkar who identifies as a communist should be locked up under the SC/ST Act for insulting Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Next.
Yugesh Sai Reddy wants to know, question to both. What do you think makes acting in Hindu interests unsustainable for parties in power?
It's not unsustainable at all. The problem is they are not happy with just that. They want more and more and more. That is what Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas is. It is greed. It was just based on Hindu consolidation that you got 280, 282, then you got 303. That isn't enough. He wants more. So like, was it Gandhi who said there is enough for everybody's need, not for everybody's greed?
I think so.
Hindu consolidation is enough for the BJP's need, but not for Modi's greed.
Next question, please.
And definitely not for his Nobel Prize, which he's never getting.
Dilip Pandita wants to know, does this situation become an opportunity for some party to emerge as Hindu party and fill the vacuum? We answered this question. Let's move on, right? We answered this question. We went through every party, as a matter of fact. Next question. Dilip, you have to go back and look at this program again. Next question, please. Ramesh Swamy wants to know, question to AIM. Hi, Ramesh. Aren't the Indian intelligence unaware of the toolkit as described in OSINT?
No, they're aware. Some parts of government are in fact quite aware. The issue is our organizational capacity to deal with it is non-existent. Because what organizational changes has this government brought about? Nothing. To be fair, the organizational rot isn't because of this government. That started long, long back. But has this government fixed any of it? No. So the Indian intelligence is very aware of it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was intelligence that fed these handles what to do. The problem is, what can we do about it as a whole of government? Like, for example, this Guardian woman who Indian intelligence wanted to kick out because she is a troublemaker. Who vetoed it? The MEA. Jai Shankar and Arindam Bagchi. Why? Go ask them. So how are you going to overcome it? One person is clearly aware of the problem. The other person doesn't give a damn about your problem. So क्या करोगे?
Rohan Basu wants to know, there is an interview done by The Print, Jyoti Malhotra with ex-ambassador from Middle East. Trust me, they are just hopeless hypocrites.
Okay. I want to know which ambassador this is. Rohan, please type out which ambassador it is if you can.
Arjun wants to know, Abhijit, Modi has a political capital to resolve most issues between Hindus and Muslims. A good faith solution can be reached with broad contours and strict timelines. Why won't he do it?
The same reason that a pest eliminator never gets rid of all the pests in your house. क्योंकि फिर तुम उसको वापस नहीं बुलाओगे. When you have rats in the house, they will always leave 1 or 2 baby rats alive somewhere. Why? Because they want you to call him back. The termite guy will not get rid of all the termites. Why? Because they want you to call him back. So if you get rid of the Hindu-Muslim problems, or I don't think it's possible, I think you're overestimating the problem, but even assume it was. In his case, he will definitely not do it because he wants to win the next election. Now, if he can't perform, he needs a redundancy, which is polarization. Why will he give away the goose that lays golden eggs, boss? Like I said, they confuse what is good for Modi has to be good for the BJP, and what is good for the BJP has to be good for India. In the process, if India gets screwed, as long as Modi keeps becoming Prime Minister, they don't give a damn. And it's very easy. I'm not saying it's Modi's fault alone. You, me, Shri, anybody in that position would probably have the same thing. It requires a huge amount of statesmanship, self-control, and clarity to be able to differentiate one's self-interest from the national interest. And that is what makes a statesman, and that is why Modi will always be a politician. He will never be a statesman.
The Cloudera wants to know, is Sadguruism type an alternative to BJP?
I'm sure a lot of you respect him and all of that. I'm yet to see the profundity in him. So I can never bring myself to vote for him.
David the Goliath wants to know again, Buddha was a Hindu prince. It is so sad that he turned into an anti-Hindu figure. He was one of us. Ambedkarites seem to forget he was a Kshatriya.
He wasn't a Hindu, boss. What makes you think he was a Hindu?
Because
he
there was no
self-identifies
Buddhism at that
Hindu.
time.
No. There was. He invented a new path. You could have absorbed it as the 12th or whatever school of Hinduism. You did not. He did not want that absorption. When did he turn into an anti-Hindu? Sikhs also started off as Hindus, and now they don't like Hindus anymore. Maybe you should look within and see what did you do that you weren't able to absorb them back. At the same time, don't flagellate over it. Shias and Sunnis both consider themselves Muslim, but there's so much bloodshed. Tell me one religion that has stayed true to its own thing. Judaism has several different branches who hate each other. Christianity and Islam are technically branches of Judaism, no? And yet nobody has killed more Jews than Christians and Muslims. So much so for being part of one religion. So first, there's a natural process. Stop, look at things in a historical perspective, boss. Don't just get carried away. It's so sad. So what? The last I read in my history book, it wasn't fairy tale. The reason we read history and not, Cinderella is because real life is never like Cinderella. The pumpkin doesn't come and fairy godmother doesn't, see to it you marry the prince. This is history. This is what happens. And Ambedkarites, like I tell you, stop calling them Ambedkarites. Calling them frauds, insulting the memory of Ambedkar. FIMA, FEMA. Call them FEMAs. Frauds insulting the memory of Ambedkar.
Vibhanshu Patel wants to know, are you sure Modi has reviewed the explanation letter given to Qatar by the IFS officers on calling Nupur Sharma a fringe element?
Do you think Modi has the confidence to be able to read a verbose letter written in heavy, ponderous English by an alleged St. Stephen's IFS Babu and tell him to correct it? You tell me. Do you? This is a man who trusts our IFS Babu more than his own shadow. Do you? I doubt it very much. But even then, I don't think he has the overall comprehension. He's too micro-detailed. He's all micromanage. And if you notice, some jackasses on Twitter were saying, oh, how is he meant to micromanage everything? He had to meet the Australian Prime Minister in the morning. First, he had to receive the Australian Prime Minister. Then he had to meet and greet the Australian Prime Minister. Then he had to hold talks with the Australian Prime Minister. वो Australian Prime Minister की खिदमतदारी करते रहेगा, ये करेगा. This is action explanation given. Apparently, we're meant to be grateful for him to just be doing his obligations. And we are to blame for everything. He is to blame for nothing.
And Pikachu Man wants to know, the Arabs are planning to increase oil prices for Asian markets. Do you think US has a hand in this? Can't the Indian government join Russia instead of one at a time? Yeah.
No. First, get rid of this conspiracy theories. We knew this was going to blow up the moment we saw these Arab hashtags come about. We just knew it was going to blow up. Because remember, Islam in those countries is used as a means of political opposition to their governments. What happens is, this used to be said about the Saudis, that when the Saudis want to throw somebody in jail, to the international community, they claim XYZ is an Islamist and needs to be thrown in jail. Within Saudi Arabia, the same people who are claiming to foreign diplomats that XYZ was an Islamist, they'll claim to their own people that he's a secularist and throw him in jail. Remember, in all these countries, because they're politically repressed, Islam is the only form of political dissent allowed. You raise Islam खतरे में है और हमारा सरकार कुछ नहीं कर रहा है with them. Islam is in threat and our government did nothing. It can very rapidly turn into a riot against the Arab government for something that happened somewhere else. Do you remember the kind of riots that happened all over, which had completely unrelated places when Salman Rushdie wrote satanic verses? So they have to do certain things to protect themselves. First, understand that this was brought about because of oil prices. Yeah, give me a break. This has nothing to do with that. Okay. The US has no hand in this. I know some people want to think that, Antony Blinken kind of green lighted it with that swine Ahmad Rashad or whatever he is, international religious freedoms, whatever. I mean, he looks like a piglet, but there's nothing you can do about it. Unfortunate genes. And can the Indian government join Russia instead of OIC? Why? What do you mean join? And what if you, again, you're getting into a monopoly situation, and then what if the Russians increase the price?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, think things through, yeah.
Think it through. Absolutely. I mean, this is what we are trying to do, guys. We are trying to help your critical thinking skills. Kuch pad liya, don't form an opinion. If you're interested in the topic, go and look at opposing opinions also, because somewhere the grain of truth will emerge for you, and this is what it is. Next question from Padma Bhushan Reddy. What do you think both about the ideal stand of Hindu society in India on blasphemy versus free speech, either by Hindus or blasphemy against Hinduism? You go first.
Look, it is accepting that blasphemy is sacrosanct in a democracy will send Hindus very far. We don't go out on the streets and riot. They do. Now, when you accept that blasphemy is critical to a democracy, as is the rule of law, where every riot is met with a bullet or with a machine gun, understand who bears the brunt of blasphemy. Who gets to blaspheme the most? Blasphemy is a God-given gift to Hindus, and you people are too stupid to accept it. You people are too stupid to realize it. People are too stupid because of your hurt feelings to understand how to weaponize it. The French state, the Danish state have weaponized it perfectly. The way they have used it to screw over Islamists is phenomenal. Why? Because the average Frenchman is willing to accept that Jesus and Mary will be blasphemed. There was an exhibition that I went to in Paris where the Virgin Mary was painted onto a toilet. So if you had to pee, you actually had to do that. I was shocked. And it brought about no protests whatsoever in France. And that is why they are able to crack down on Islamists the way they are. You are all able to understand Nicholas Nassim Taleb's, the triumph of the intolerant and all of that, but you're not able to practicalize it. उसने हमारे शिवलिंग को बोला जेल में डालो. उसने हमारे शिवलिंग को बोला हमने राइट नहीं करके क्या बहुत बड़ी मेहरबानी की है क्या? What is the next step? The next step is to pressurize the government to say blasphemy is sacrosanct. Install it. We will deal with our own hurt feelings. But if you come out and riot or if you issue death threats, the person who even claimed blasphemy, him and his family need to be thrown in jail, and anybody coming out on the streets needs to be machine gunned down. Violence is not acceptable. Protest karo. You can't riot. You people don't realize that Hinduism has given you all the tools to weaponize, and you're too caught up in, oh, isne mere Bhagwan ko ye bol diya. You're stuck in a Stockholm syndrome where you're seeing the worst kind of Islamic radicalism praised as justified, that you want to become like them. You actually see Osama bin Laden and Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi as something to be emulated. And that is what I worry about. And this is why I understand. Remember, all the chutias today defending Nupur Sharma were all very quiet when I went to jail.
Yes.
All of them. And the same bloody chutias who are going after Nupur Sharma were all very quiet when, not quiet, they were the complete other side when Sharjeel Imam and co were sent to jail. Understand your own hypocrisies.
Swarup Kaushik wants to know how does I don't have an answer, by the way, guys. We are trying to cover as many questions as possible. Swarup Kaushik, how does nuance survive in a world of Abrahamism?
Through Hinduism. The problem is Hindus themselves are now seeing themselves from the worldview of Abraham. Look at Shri himself. He tells you Hinduism is a monotheistic religion. For me, that comes from a fundamental. You did. It's very much on the record. You've said that. And for me, that comes from an inferiority complex. For me, I will even justify human sacrifice in Hinduism. If a Hindu does it, it is right. Full stop. We are shamanistic. We are polytheistic. Kya karoge? Even if our ancestors, forget 1500 BC, even if our ancestors came in some great migration 200 years back, I have the social sciences training to be able to defend it as this is hamara land hai, hamare pehle idhar koi nahi tha, ye hamara land hai, we came to an empty land, this is ours. Oh. The problem today is nuance can survive in a world of Abrahamism if Hindus stay Hindus. If Hindus become chimpanzees who want to turn into Abrahamics, there is nothing that can save you. God created Abrahamism for human beings. When monkeys turn into Abrahamics, Satyanas.
And Rohan Basu wants to know, he is giving the answer. Ambassador Rajendra Abhayankar, ex-Syria Ambassador Talmiz Ahmad, ex-SA and Oman Ambassador Navdeep Puri, ex-UAE and Egypt. There's the answer for you.
Okay. It explains a lot. That's all I'm going to say in public. There's a lot. There's a lot about them. I think you should Google all of them and you'll find enough.
And Arvind Sarangapani Knowledge Center wants to know, Nupur should have watched her words being spokesperson of BJP irrespective of whether she spoke fact or not. We should first realize that and stop bashing the government, which is doing damage control.
Yeah, this is like, every bashed wife. The wife deserved it. And every Jew deserved to be gassed off because, the Jews should look within themselves why they decide to follow the protocols of elders of Zion. So Hitler came and gassed them off. Hai na? What a disgusting question, yaar. Really? Knowledge center? I have never seen a person more filled with avabuddhi than you. She quoted word for word. Show me, please. Where she quoted, where did she say anything that wasn't in Sahih Bukhari? Knowledge.
All right, this is the last question. That's it. And we have actually caught up. Amay Tandon wants to know, how should India have responded to Qatar? Many say it was to protect the Indians over there. BJP made some heroic sacrifice by sacking her.
Spare me the shit. Anybody who knows 101 of economics will know that you can't get rid of 7 lakh Indians overnight and be safe. And remember, they weren't threatening to send off those Indians either. Okay, all you had to say was, you play the tape and say, what has she quoted out of the book? What has she said that was insulting? Did she use any names? Did she use any abuses? No. She has quoted from the Sahih Bukhari. Here is a video of Zakir Naik saying the same thing. Here is the 3-4 videos of several Muslim preachers saying the same thing. You tell me what is out of this thing and that. It was very simple.
All right. So this is where we stand, and you can see the message. We have some off-topic questions, but we will address those when Abhijit has time. He is on vacay. And we should respect that, and you should let him see and send us tweets about how wonderful his sights of Italy are. And he already expressed his comments about pizza. So more power to you, bro, and have fun and not too much of it. And stay alive to answer our questions. We're going to ping you on the unanswered questions, and you can give us unquestioned answers. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
In nomine Patris, Filii, Spiritus Sancti, absolvo te peccatori.